Hey guys, welcome and welcome back to Holly's Heart Space, a cozy safe space where we think with our hearts and heal with our minds. It's been a while since I've posted a video, probably a couple months now, actually, and I'd like to be frank with you guys. Sorry, there's bugs here. It's because I was dealing with my own personal experiences with a lot of frustration and what I would say would be some rage and some really sad and bitter and resentful emotions, to be honest, in terms of my life experiences and how things have kind of turned out in my frame of perception. And I didn't want to really showcase these aspects of myself. Number one, because they're personal and they're sacred to me. Even though people would consider them possibly negative, these are emotions that are natural, and they are part of the process of working through how you feel about something, working through the actual experiences and the actual perceptions of it in order to come out on the other end wiser and more attuned to who you are and how others are with you. And so I needed to do a lot of these things on my own, and it took quite a while. There are days where I woke up feeling quite refreshed and quite happy and feeling, oh shoot, I'm making some progress. I'm moving forward. I'm moving past just the pain and just the rumination and the fear of what it means to not have what I thought that I needed. And there are days where it was a lot easier, and then there were days suddenly after that where it became hard again, and so it was difficult to reconcile that fluctuation and that wave pattern of, when can it become more of just the stability and the good and the excitement and the happiness again? And I've had to accept that it is gradual. There are waves, and I have a lot of gratitude knowing that, because I've experienced some happiness, breakthroughs and sunshine, not just because of spring, but because of my own progression, that it's a sign to look forward, that I'm breaking through, that I'm becoming more stable without repressing and without negating how I felt about things. I'm becoming more regulated and more stable in how I process how things affect me, and I think that is a prized possession to earn through a grieving process or a process of loss based on misalignment and miscommunication, pride, ego, and fear. It's really sad when you know that these are the reasons things have not turned out the way you would like, but also knowing that sometimes it is the protection because you needed to learn some more, because before you could become successful and truly grateful for what is offered to you in this world. I'm realizing that a lot of the times I will have painful, grievous, or frustrating or confusing experiences, but when I come out of the other side of them, I realize they were actually answers to a wish or a prayer that I'd had previously, just not in the way that I was intending or preparing to receive these answers. And it's quite a relief, but quite entertaining, actually, to kind of look back and be like, wow, that caused me so much aggravation at the moment, but when I finally surrendered to what it was going to teach me and decided to learn instead of resist. So the whole point is deciding to flow with the lesson instead of resisting it. I learned the gift that comes out of the other side. And so I want to really encourage you guys, no matter what you're going through, no matter what grief or what loss or what frustration, what sort of things are holding you back, weighing you down, or making you feel afraid to pursue what you really would like to pursue, or say what you would really like to say, or fight for what you'd really like to fight for. Kind of lost my train of thought there, but when you feel these things, keep persisting. There we go. Don't give up. Don't give up. Allow the knowledge that these things are happening. Don't repress. Don't make yourself sick by faking and masking that this is not what you feel, or this is not how you've been perceiving the world through a certain lens that causes you pain and suffering and a feeling of lack and a feeling of non-support or a feeling of judgment and persecution. When you find yourself going through these things, persist, find the lessons, seek the lessons, know that you will be gifted at the other end. There's so many butterflies around me right now. See, I still have a lot of days of extreme sadness. In fact, I will be very transparent that I do cry every day because I'm a very emotional person, and I've chosen to just let my grief process be slow and allow it to go its own course and not to rush it or not to believe that I'm done with it when I'm actually not. So I have cried quite a lot, and there are days that are still quite sad, but I do have days of happiness where now I do wake up and I do have that excitement again, knowing that each day has new blessings. And every time that I believe that I have new blessings coming to me, the day is always beautiful. Day unfolding in front of me each and every day that I choose to wake up believing that it's a blessing to have woken up into this new day. And I encourage you guys, no matter what you're going through, I know it's very difficult to believe that you will have these better days, that you will have these days of smiles and sunshine and butterflies swirling around you, and that you will actually be content. You will still have, perhaps, lingering senses of loneliness or loss or nostalgia concerning maybe a certain person or a certain place or a certain feeling you used to have or an experience that you used to seek with someone or in a certain way that you feel like you can't do in the same way anymore. But realizing that even in those moments, you can still smile. You're still yourself. You still have your own body. You have your own soul. You have your own passions and your own visions and your own dreams that existed before the thing that impacted you. And you can always return back to yourself. There's always the return back to the self. Always waiting for you to return back to you. And that doesn't mean negating anything else or anyone else. It just means learning how to find the happiness without thinking that it had to be in that one way. One sec. Okay, there we go. I have some notes here that I also took, kind of about the process I was going through. It was very important for me in times of anger and in times of frustration to not let myself become consumed by those patterns and let them become part of me, because they're not naturally who I am. I'm naturally a very forgiving, compassionate, and just calm and easygoing person, but I do have principles. And excuse me. I do have principles. I do have things that are difficult for me not to speak up on or not to stand up for, especially in terms of how I feel that I'm receiving perceptions or treatment, or how things have maybe turned out that are beyond my control because they're based on others' perceptions that I can't necessarily alter in a way that would be more akin to what I would feel is truthful as a reflection of myself. Learning how to go through this process coping properly and not maladaptively, not through numbing or escapism or self-destructively by being explosive or reactionary, shutting down, repressing, harming myself, talking negatively to myself, or developing a hatred or resentment of others. It can be very easily to internalize and become become hard on ourselves or shame ourselves. It can be easy to externalize and become shameful and resentful and have harm ideas for others. And so it's important how not to allow these to become a true, ingrained in your heart space. Because your heart space can't contain those kinds of emotions without feeling a lot of pain and feeling a lot of strain. And overall, it will make you very spiritually and physically and emotionally sick and unwell. And so you can feel these things, the anger and the frustration, because they are indicators that your own values and your own boundaries have been crossed in some way. And you must always listen to this. You must always act according to the preservation of your own self-respect and your principles, values, and boundaries that you hold in this life. But then when it goes to hating people for how they have treated you or judged you, that can only end up hurting you for much longer in your lifespan than the event itself took to unfold. I find it interesting, actually, how when we hold on to experiences like that causes pain or frustration, we're really just extending something that was a brief moment in our history, and we're reliving it over and over in order for it to then become something that took days, months, and years out of our life, instead of just that moment in time. Just that moment is all it had to be, and you could have not taken it inside of you. You could have simply allowed it to be what it was and walked away, and allowed it to be only that one moment in time. So it's very important for us to look at how much we're holding on, how long we're holding on to these resentments and these hurts and these pains, and making them our story long past when they could have been absolved from, our experience, and they just remain part of history. Learning that our grief comes in layers and waves, and that these waves entail different aspects of grief. Grief about the parts of ourselves, the different aspects of ourselves, and our visions for our future, and our fears from our past, and letting things go. Learning to avoid hopelessness or victim mentality, apathy, or villainization. These are very important when you're learning to take the lessons from a painful process, is not to get stuck in that one plane of existence where you're just blaming yourself, or blaming others, or blaming circumstances, or blaming the world, or blaming God. It doesn't allow you to move forward. It doesn't allow you to expand in what you are able to comprehend and what you're able to become past that. It kind of just leaves you in that one position, and then you don't get to grow. You don't get to learn. We really start to initiate change, I find, when we're so fed up and we're so burnt out that we exclaim and demand from the universe that we want something different, that we're not going to tolerate what we've been tolerating. Suddenly our eyes are opened that we've just been going with the pace of things, just going with how things were and not asking for anything different, not stating that we could have anything different. We don't have to say this to the people or to the places or to the jobs that we want to be different. We exclaim this to our own internal universe, our external universe. We exclaim it to the sky and to the Mother Earth. And we allow things to move on our behalf without having to force, and without having to prove, without having to control anyone or anything to get what we want. Just say what we want and then see what happens. And align with that in the meantime, right? So If you want to be out of a certain situation and you exclaim this with a true heart space of wanting a different experience for the betterment of all, what usually follows inevitably is a burst of motivation or determination or excitement that propel you to find ways out of your circumstance instead of making excuses or feeling attached to it. Suddenly doors open, suddenly things pop up in front of your face that you wouldn't have noticed before, or maybe you noticed but you never considered as options before. And then you re-look, it suddenly comes to you again, and you go, I could reconsider this, I could go down this avenue, I could try this course of action, I could talk to these people or put in this job application or, test out this hobby or this school course. Things that you had written off in the past, suddenly you may not write off because you're more open to the experience of having something different than what you were previously chaining yourself to. The desire to make moves that were previously discounted become the primary focus, and new solutions or possibilities appear that were previously unseen. The brain and heart correspond to map a new pathway of alignment out of stagnancy and frustration. Synchronicities occur. Like I said, doors open, reality shifts, and only your attachment to the fearful thought structures will hold you back from taking the leaps and risks toward alignment with your higher version of self and fulfilling your persistently neglected dreams. When we stop trying to get these changes by controlling or influencing others or the environment around us, we release the need to be understood by others or to redirect them. We stop chasing clarity to better understand their motivations and their intentions. Instead, we focus on, A, internal stability and nervous system relaxation. B, self-care, nutrition, self-esteem, and thought reconstruction. Essentially, seeing where you speak negatively or limitingly about yourself and choosing to redirect those thoughts in a different direction that are more beneficial to you. C, necessary duties, social and financial obligations, the stability structures of your life, the things that keep you going day to day that you need to fulfill, the rent, the vehicle maintenance, the house chores, everything, the bills. Staying on top of those things and not letting the spiritual headiness or the emotional disconnectedness and the, dissociation to take over and prevent you from keeping your footing on the ground. Sorry, there's a lot of bugs on my back. Coming back to these necessary duties, sort of allowing you to ground yourself and come back to a reality that takes you out of that whole emotional confusion and gives you something else to focus on. D, hobbies, passions, pursuits, and service to others. E, neutrality, non-reactivity, observation. This includes your observation of your own internal adrenaline that occurs in situations or triggers that give you anxiety, and or external verbalization of your anxiety to others or your frustration to others. Learning how to control and regulate these things. Learning that you don't need to necessarily say everything that's on your mind just because you're aggravated by someone. And you don't necessarily need to get super stressed out and anxious just because someone triggers you about something. Again, instead of perpetuating it beyond the moment, instead of making it something influential to you that impacts how you feel and what you're thinking through the rest of the day, or even beyond that, allow that event to happen, observe it, let it go, and move on. And it becomes just in that one moment. Nothing more, nothing less. F, rebuilding a compassionate worldview remaining a positive contributor, aligning then with G, rebuking the hateful or judgmental projections, retaining spiritual cleansing, forgiveness, and keeping a pure conscience, not letting hate override who you are as a spiritual being, not letting it become how you see the world or how you immediately perceive others. Keeping your heart open, but also discerning, right? We are not naive, and we are not we're not easily taken advantage of. We just want to make sure that we're not overly cynical and overly judgmental and resentful of others either. Because everyone is going through their own life journey, and we have to respect what everyone is capable of perceiving as different levels, different comprehension levels, different emotional levels, different value levels even. So everyone coming from different sources, and we have to understand that they will have different perceptions because of that. And then H, reconnection to nature and to absolute truths, not just to the dopamine addictions of the ego, not to fulfilling our ego's chase for validation or for control or for superiority, but the absolute truth that we're all coming from the same place, different sources of perception, but from the same place. And we all have hearts, we all have heart spaces. Looking through my notes here. When I decided to drop the pity through this whole dark grieving process I've been going through these months, and to take action to find solutions, when I decided that no longer accepting less meant showing up in the world ready to receive more. I'm going to repeat that right there, because I liked it when it came through my writing. It really rang true. Deciding that no longer accepting less meant showing up in the world ready to receive more. It means taking the action to build myself up to a place where I actually believe I can have a different experience. I can receive more love or more respect or more thoughtful consideration than what I was getting previously. This allows me to temporarily release the tension I have focused on someone else and their impact they've had on me, and redirect it to the tension I've been avoiding about how to better my own life positioning. You see, we don't wait around for others to make our lives better or to fulfill our dreams. We don't wait around for others to make us happy and stable to the point where then we can now focus on ourselves and achieve our dreams. You see, because we'll then always be waiting, we'll always be disappointed, and we'll always be expecting something that we're not getting because we're relying on something external. And it's not fair to the other person because they need to achieve their own dreams. That's their responsibility, is their life path, not yours. Right? So we're not going to wait on someone else to fulfill our own life path. That's not their responsibility. Instead, we focus on our health through hydration and nutrition, and our self-care through hygiene and positive and affirming self-talk, and regulation through diet and rest and presence, through our life path, which includes service, passion, and fulfillment, focusing on our finances, keeping stability and expansion, and our creative generativity, building, writing, artwork, passive income, anything that creates generativity and creativity from yourself into the world. This includes child rearing. This includes creating a small business. Anything that you build, with your thoughts and with your passion and with your determination, and bring it into the world as a physical thing. That's creation. God loves creation. And then also focusing on spiritual connection, cleansing ourselves, keeping our hearts pure of conscience, light as a feather, not burdened by resentment and hate and grudgery and vengeance, right? Such a waste of time for all of that. And it really just makes you a dark hag witch. So don't do it. Take a lesson, right? Learn about how to make yourself stronger through these painful things. It doesn't matter what the people have done. It doesn't matter if they did something wrong or in a way that you don't believe in. Don't get hateful from it. Don't be a hag witch, please. And then gratitude, of course. Gratitude, even through the dark times, especially through the dark times, especially, I gotta say, gratitude helped me in the dark days, just being grateful for waking up, being grateful to have air in my lungs, being grateful to have a stable job to go to, being grateful for my parents who are supportive, being grateful for my body, which moves me, and my hands, which do things for me, and my heart, which, propels me. Being grateful for the sunshine, being grateful for clean water, being grateful for a nutritious, delicious meal, or for one tiny, tiny moment of laughter in a day that's otherwise filled with tears. Sometimes it's just being grateful that you have a place you can be sad in, and you know that there won't be a giant predator coming lurking through the bushes and then grabbing you and devouring you. You can breathe in safety, and that's something to be grateful for. I'm sorry to laugh. We don't laugh when we're going through a lot of pain, but I'm laughing now because I've been through the pain and I can laugh now, right? Like, I still have times, I still have sad days. I still have moments where, I cry about things. And they're really overwhelming. And I still don't really know why things happen the way they did. But I'm here to tell you, persist. Keep going. Doesn't matter what you do to get through. Doesn't matter if you take, how many steps you take, or if you take steps physically forward at all during that day. Every day, just keep going through. The new day will be there. Keep going through that day. The new day will be there. Keep going through that day. And then you will end up breaking through like the crocus through the soil in spring, or like the sun through the clouds. You'll break through, and you'll be able to laugh again. And you'll be able to find purpose and excitement again in your life. And you may or may not also be able to redeem the things that you thought you had lost, because you found yourself along the way. And that's the most precious gift, and anything beyond that is icing on the cake, right? We had to feel the grief and the despair, but not to let it be the end of our love story. We move forward, but not disregarding the lessons learned or how the pain impacted and changed us on a fundamental level. We had to learn to regain strength without building more walls. We had to learn to keep moving without numbing behind a mask of insincerity. We had to learn how to accept circumstance without self-sacrificing. We had to learn how to love and believe in ourselves without routing it through another. We had to learn not to hate and shame ourselves because of feeling rejected or discarded or misrepresented. We had to learn how to not let the judgment and discrimination of others alter and become how we perceive them in return. We had to not let it be the end of our own love story. I love you guys. Thanks for joining me again at Holly's Hearth Space. I hope this video finds those it needs to find. I know it will. Like, comment, subscribe, share love with each other, share love with yourself and with the creatures in the earth. Stay cozy. See you next time.